Freedom sounds beautiful. For the people of Israel, it had been a dream for generations. They had lived as slaves in Egypt, forced to build cities they would never live in, working long days under harsh masters. Then, through a series of astonishing events, plagues, signs, and wonders, they were released. They walked out of Egypt carrying what little they owned. They crossed the Red Sea on dry ground while the waters stood like walls on either side. They had seen miracles. They had sung songs of victory on the other side. But now, weeks later, they stood in a very different place. The desert. Sand stretched in every direction. The sun beat down without mercy. There were no farms, no grocery markets, no rivers full of fish. And food was running out. One evening, as families gathered near their tents, a worried mother named Tirzah tried to divide the last of her flour between her two sons.
Is that all?
Her older son asked.
We will make it stretch.
But what will we eat tomorrow?
The younger one whispered. Tirzah didn't answer. Outside, murmurs were spreading through the camp. A man named Eliab paced back and forth near the center of the tents. His voice was sharp with frustration. He shouted,
"This is madness! Moses brought us out here to die!
Others joined in.
At least in Egypt we had food!"
Yes, we were slaves, but we had bread!
Fear does something strange. It can make even painful memories look comfortable. Soon, a crowd gathered around Moses. Eliab stepped forward.
"Why did you bring us here? Were there no graves in Egypt? Did you bring us into the desert to starve?"
Moses stood quietly for a moment. His face showed the weight of leadership.
"You are not complaining against me. You are complaining against the Lord,"
he said calmly. The crowd muttered. Eliab crossed his arms.
"Then where is this Lord now?"
That night, something unexpected happened. Birds, quail, flew into the camp in large numbers. There was meat to eat. But that was only the beginning. The next morning, as the sun rose, Tirzah stepped outside her tent. She stopped in her tracks. The ground was covered with something white and thin, like frost resting gently on the sand. Her sons ran beside her.
What is it?
One asked. All around them, voices echoed the same question.
What is it?
Has it fallen from the sky?
Is it safe?
Moses' voice carried across the camp.
"This is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. Gather as much as you need, one portion for each person."
Tirzah knelt and picked some up. It felt light and flaky. She tasted a tiny bit. It was mild, slightly sweet. She smiled with relief. Inside their tent, she crushed it, shaped it, and baked it over the fire. The smell filled the small space. Her younger son took a bite.
It's good!
His eyes widened. Outside, Eliab gathered his share too. He looked skeptical, but hungry enough not to argue. Moses gave one more instruction.
"Do not keep any of it until morning."
The crowd exchanged confused looks.
"Why not?"
Someone asked.
"Because the Lord will provide again tomorrow."
Moses replied. But trust is hard when fear is fresh. Inside his tent that evening, Eliab stared at the remaining manna in his bowl. His wife spoke softly.
Moses said not to keep it.
"And what if tomorrow it doesn't appear?"
Eliab said sharply.
"Are we supposed to risk our children's lives?"
He wrapped extra manna in cloth and hid it in a jar.
"We will be prepared."
The next morning, Eliab rushed to check his hidden supply. He opened the jar. A terrible smell filled the tent. The manna was crawling with worms. It had rotted overnight. His wife covered her mouth.
Oh no.
Outside, people were already gathering fresh manna from the ground. Moses' voice rang out again.
"Each day you must trust the Lord for that day."
Eliab stepped outside, embarrassed. Tirzah passed by, carrying her basket of fresh manna. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. And so it continued. Every morning, when the dew lifted from the desert floor, manna appeared. It came quietly. No thunder. No lightning. No dramatic announcement. Just small white flakes covering the ground. Children grew used to running outside at sunrise.
Let's see how much there is today.
Families learned to gather only what they needed. Some days, Eliab still worried. He stood beside Moses one afternoon.
Why can't God give us enough for a month?
Eliab asked.
Why this daily routine?
Moses looked out over the desert.
Because if we had a month's supply, we might forget who gave it.
Eliab was silent. Then came another instruction. On the 6th day of each week, Moses told the people to gather twice as much.
Tomorrow is a day of rest.
He explained.
The manna will not fall then.
The people were unsure.
What if it rots again?
Someone whispered. But they obeyed. And this time, the extra manna did not spoil. On the 7th day, no manna appeared. But no one panicked. They had what they needed. For the first time in weeks, the camp slowed down, families rested. Children played. Conversations lasted longer. God was not only teaching them to trust for provision, He was teaching them to rest. Years passed. The children who once tasted manna for the first time were now adults. The miracle that once caused gasps of amazement had become routine. One afternoon, Eliab's teenage son kicked at the sand.
Are we eating manna again?
He groaned. Eliab frowned.
We have eaten it every day.
That's the problem.
The boy replied.
It's always the same.
Nearby, others echoed similar complaints.
We missed the food of Egypt.
We had spices there.
We had variety.
Moses heard the rising dissatisfaction and gathered the people.
Do you remember Egypt clearly?
He asked. Silence fell.
Do you remember the chains, the beatings, the crying in the night?
The people shifted uncomfortably.
You are alive today because heaven feeds you. Do not let comfort blind you to grace.
Moses said. But the human heart is complicated. Even miracles can feel ordinary over time. Still, every morning, manna came. Not because the people were perfect, but because God was faithful. 40 years passed in the wilderness. An entire generation grew up knowing nothing but daily manna. Finally, they reached the edge of a new land. A land with fields ready for harvest. Moses had died. Joshua now led them. They crossed into fertile ground. They tasted fruit from trees and grain from the soil. The next morning, when the sun rose, Tirzah, now an elderly woman, stepped outside her tent out of habit. The ground was bare. No white flakes. No dew-covered bread. Her granddaughter joined her.
Grandmother, where is the manna?
Tirzah smiled softly.
It has served its purpose.
Won't you miss it?
The child asked. Tirzah looked toward the fields of grain in the distance.
I will miss what it taught us.
Later that day, Joshua addressed the people.
The Lord has brought you into a land that produces food of its own. The manna has stopped, but do not forget, He is still your provider.
There was no panic this time. No shouting. No fear. Because after 40 years, they understood something they had not known at the beginning. The miracle was never just about bread. It was about trust. At the start of the journey, the people feared they would starve. They thought freedom meant immediate comfort. But instead, freedom led them into a place where they had to depend daily on something bigger than themselves. Every sunrise was an invitation. Trust me today. Not for next year. Not for the rest of your life. Just for today. The manna could not be stored long-term because trust cannot be stored long-term. It must be renewed. Again and again. And perhaps that is why this story still matters. Because everyone faces deserts. Moments of uncertainty. Seasons of waiting. Days when tomorrow feels fragile. The story of manna reminds us that provision often comes in daily portions. Enough strength for today. Enough courage for today. Enough grace for today. And sometimes, that is the greater miracle. Bread from heaven. Simple. Steady. Faithful. And that is the story of manna in the wilderness. A story of fear, faith, failure, patience, and daily trust.